So welcome to Women Who Rock with Success Media. This is your host, Ms. Diane Winbush. This is our second episode for today, and we thank everyone for tuning in. This is our third episode, actually, in regards to Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so we have some amazing professionals that is on the panel that's going to be able to share some stories with you, share a little bit about what they do. It's a company also that is representing 2 or 3 clients, Turning Point. And so they're going to share a little bit because the reason why a lot of times we think, well, it's breast cancer. We go through this every year, but there are a lot of individuals. I just looked on the news, the national news the other day, where there are a lot of women that do not have resources. They have to travel several miles, hundreds of miles, in order to be able to get the information, mammograms, things that they need. And so that's kind of a F, when it comes to getting the information out there in regards to breast cancer. This is just not something that we shove up under the rug just for 1 month per year. This is something we need to be talking about every day so women can be able to have the resources that they need. So we have a panel that's going to be able to share some stories with us. We have professionals also on the platform that's going to be able to help us to understand a little bit more, and we're going to give you some facts. So we're going to welcome our first guest to the panel, and she is none other than Stephanie Scalise. So good morning, Stephanie, and we want to also for you to be able to share with the panel just a little bit about you and about your cause with the breast cancer and some of the things that you have triumphed over.
Well, thank you. Like you said, I'm Stephanie Scalise. I am a 7-year breast cancer survivor and a former patient at Turning Point Breast Cancer Rehabilitation in Atlanta. Okay. The reason my story is unique is when I was going through treatment, I had 3 young daughters at the time, at ages 11, 13, and 15, and they decided they wanted to give back to the community that they say gave them their strong, independent mom back, and that's Turning Point. So they started a nonprofit called Strides for Survivors. It's a walk plus other fundraisers throughout the year that all of the benefit, all the money we raise goes right back to Turning Point. And thus far in 6 years, they've raised $61,000. Okay. And that's my connection to Turning Point and what I'm doing to become a thriver after my breast cancer journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. So our next guest is going to be Marlena Murphy, and she also is a community advocate for Turning Point. And so good morning, Marlena, and share a little bit about what you do.
Good morning. I am Marlena Murphy, and I was originally diagnosed with stage 3 triple negative breast cancer in June of 2018. And then fast forward March of 2022, I've experienced a reoccurrence, triple negative breast cancer, metastatic. And so I became a community advocate with Turning Point Breast Cancer Rehabilitation last year. However, I was a patient in April of 2019 after going through a lumpectomy and dealing with radiation is when I started as a patient. And so Janae was one of my physical therapists. And because I'm going through treatment now, even though I am the community advocate, I am a patient once again. And my role as a community advocate is to get the word out about Turning Point's Atlanta initiative, which is an initiative where we have a satellite location in downtown Atlanta at the Center for Black Women's Wellness, and we provide physical therapy services on Thursdays right now with Janae. And my job is to get the word out about that location, to get the word out about Turning Point in general, because not only do we offer physical therapy, but we have exercise classes in person and virtual, massage therapy. We have a nutritionist. We have educational classes. So we have a wide variety of things that we offer for breast cancer patients, men and women. In the metro Atlanta area, but also in the state of Georgia, because we're able to offer virtual physical therapy. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for sharing that with us. Our next guest that's on the platform is gonna be Marci Greenberg Cox. And so good morning, Marci. And so hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Welcome to the panel, and share a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Thanks for having me. So again, I'm Marci Greenberg Cox, and in 2018, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, and I decided to do a double mastectomy, and I stayed flat. And so my kids were 1 and 5 at the time, and there was not too much information about, hey, all the changes that our mommy's going through. So I ended up writing my first book, Mommy Has a Boo-Boo.
Yay.
And so it explains breast cancer to children. And it's followed by 8 more books after that. I've got a journal to go with it. I've got a journal called the Breast Cancer GPS for newly diagnosed women. So it's got questions to ask all of your doctors, tips and tricks through the different treatments. And we've got your regular journal, just writing journals. My latest is the breast cancer word search. So I made that fun, but it's not for kids. And then my daughter, they're now 5 and 9, but my daughter at age 8 became an author. We did 2 coloring books together. And so now I'm working on my 9th book about a child learning they have cancer. And so I'm going to be doing a Kickstarter on that soon. But it was such a passion of mine to help other families go through all of this stress. And because kids are so intuitive, they have so many questions, that the journal that goes along with Mommy Has a Boo-Boo, it's called Mommy Has a Boo-Boo Now What, has all these questions that the parent and child or grandma or whoever can discuss with the child, and the child can write in there. And for example, like, who's going to take me to sports, or who's going to take me to dance? Because mommy does everything, right?
Right.
So it's just, I always felt I've always got to be honest with my girls. And I know other women feel the same way, because the kids are going to know something's going on with mommy or your grandma, so you just got to be upfront. So I never thought I'd be an author, but here I am.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And thank you so much for your story and sharing with us. Next on the panel, we have Dr. Janae Finley. She's also with Turning Point, and she's going to share a little bit about that, and then also share a little bit about what you do at Turning Point.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the introduction. Yes, my name is Janae Finley, and I am a physical therapist here at Turning Point. I was actually diagnosed with breast cancer in 2018 and came to Turning Point actually as a patient. I was already a physical therapist, but even being in the medical field, breast cancer was so out of the realm of anything that I had ever really treated intensely or really had a lot of personal kind of close-knit experience with. So I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was in for, and I didn't have that guidance that I think I really needed when I was going through that journey. I was definitely on the young side. I was diagnosed at age 31, and there's not a lot of places and doctors that really understand that the struggles are different at different points in your life. So kind of as Marci said, like, I had an almost 2-year-old at the time. So my goals for treatment were a lot different than someone else's goals that are maybe like in their 60s or 70s. But kind of along my journey with Turning Point as a patient, I transitioned into becoming a PT at Turning Point. So I was approached by one of our therapists that said, I think it would be really awesome if you worked here. And I kind of was in that stage of, I don't really know what's happening in my life, but I went out on a limb and I went for it. And I have been here for 3.5 years now working. I've had additional surgeries even while being a PT here. So Turning Point has really, not to sound cliche, but it really was a turning point for me in my life. And I really started to understand the value of not just PT, but of everything and being able to treat the person as a whole. So Turning Point, as Marlene had mentioned as well, it's not about just treating the physical, it's about treating the physical, the mental, the emotional, the social. So we have the PT programs, we have massage therapists, we have educational programs every month, twice a month. We have nutritionists on staff, and we're just really here for the long haul with patients. What I specifically do, in addition to just PT, I am part of a lot of what we call our GAP initiatives. So part of our mission is to reduce barriers to care. So whether that's geographical, whether it is race, whether it is financial, we try to reduce a lot of those barriers to care. So along with Marlena, I work on what's called our Atlanta initiative, where we are bringing PT into the communities where it's needed. So instead of you having to travel an hour and a half to get to a 1 hour PT appointment and then leave and go to work and then your kids, we're bringing it to the communities. So Atlanta is one of our initiatives that I am on. We also have a Detroit initiative that I am working with a PT in Detroit. They're providing telerehab services. So I trained her how to treat breast cancer patients via telerehab and at least give them some sort of resource and along their rehab journey that they may not have gotten otherwise. We've got some other initiatives in the works that I'm working on with them as well, but a big part of what we do is just advocacy. So advocacy for the patient and advocacy for them to really kind of speak up and tell them that, you know your body better than anybody else. So if something doesn't seem right or feel right, then you've got to speak up and speak your mind and let someone know what's going on, or that maybe you're like, I think I want a second opinion. So just letting people know what they're entitled to as well. It's been really awesome.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. And our last panelist that we're going to welcome to the studio today, and she's none other than Parul Somani. And so good morning, if I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, then you can be able to correct me. So good morning, Parul, and welcome to the platform. So share a little bit about what it is that you do.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it is Parul Somani, and I answer to Parul as well. It's been called all sorts of variations over the years, but thank you for inviting me. So I was diagnosed with stage 2 triple negative breast cancer in 2014, and similar to Janae, was 31 years old as well. And I was actually still recovering from my C-section with my second daughter.
Wow.
When I got diagnosed. And so when I had felt my lump at my 38-week ultrasound, I was actually being told it's nothing to worry about because I was young, I was pregnant, and they thought it was a clogged milk duct. And the reason I felt empowered to advocate for an ultrasound and biopsy and really, insist on further investigation, even though with the, craziness of recovery and newborn and all of that, was because I had been fortunate enough 2 years prior to have gotten genetic testing done and learned that I carry a BRCA1 mutation, which highly increases my chance of both breast and ovarian cancer. And so it was knowing that I still wanted to confirm that whether it's just a clogged milk duct or not. And that information really did save my life. I, still underwent chemotherapy and multiple surgeries in the year that followed, but just 2 days ago, celebrated my 8-year remission anniversary. So thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So I commend everyone on the panel. Seems like you have went through something, but you have thrived for it, because there are a lot of women that may not have the resources that you all perhaps maybe have. And then you're able to, when we did it last week, it was some women that, already got their coaching business, they did not allow their circumstance to be able to hinder and stop them from pursuing something, down the road. Because sometimes negative environments can, kind of cause and trigger off some things too, while you're trying to, I guess contrast between family, I got this medical condition and what have you, and things. These, the women's that I've had on all of the panels, and we got one more episode, and that's Thursday. Everyone has thrived through what they're going through. So I commend you ladies for what you are doing to be able to bring more awareness. So we're going to go back to Stephanie. So Stephanie, tell us a little bit. And so the purpose of it, this is basically a PR media, but I have to sometimes take out for women when they're going through specific things like domestic violence as well too. So the purpose is to be able to share, to encourage, to impact, to empower other women, and then they can be able to get the resources and success tools that you all have to share, because the individuals that have been on the panel before, they're from different states, just like you all are. And so different states have different resources, different things that they have to offer for the public. So we're gonna go back to Stephanie. So take us a little bit back into what was the I guess the emotional factor. We got a lot of community advocates and physical therapists that are on the platform. So take us to that. When you got the news, how did that impact you and your family?
Thank you. I knew from the moment I had my biopsy that it was going to come back positive. It just felt different.
Okay.
It was my second needle core biopsy in as many years. I had done the same genetic BRCA gene testing and came up negative. But my mother was going through breast cancer and had just finished her final surgery 2 weeks earlier before my diagnosis. So I was very familiar with Turning Point, familiar with double mastectomy, tram reconstruction. I had been through it with my mother the year before. I did not realize the impact I had on my children. I was sitting at softball practice, picking up my oldest from her practice, and my middle daughter, who at the time was 13, was in the car next to me and heard me get off the phone call, say, yes, it's breast cancer. I knew it was going to be. Now what's our steps? I hung up with them, called my mom, called my dad. And she's just listening in the background, half listening to the music, half listening to me. And I didn't realize how much she had kind of internalized it and really was curious, yet at the same time was terrified.
Okay.
And within a couple minutes, I had a plan in my head. Like, I was sitting there in my 15 minutes waiting, calling Kaiser, my health insurance, getting doctor's appointments scheduled, telling people, no, I'm not doing a lumpectomy.
Okay.
If we're going through this, I'm doing a double mastectomy and a hysterectomy. I'm doing the whole thing. I'm 42 years old. I have a family to raise. I have a business to run. I'm not playing games. Let's just do this. By the end of August, my daughters had asked to make sure I was there for the first day of school that year. And the following weekend, I had surgery. I thought I was stage 1. That's what they told me, because they wanted a lumpectomy. In surgery, it elevated very quickly to stage 3. It had infected 10 of my lymph nodes. My oldest had decided that she was going to come and wait in the waiting room with my parents and my husband. And the doctor came out and said, I'm sorry, things changed. Your mom, Stephanie has to go through chemotherapy and radiation. We can't do her reconstruction today. I've put expanders in. And the reaction my 13-year-old daughter had was to throw her flip-flop at the doctor.
Oh.
She just needed something to do right then and there to express the anguish she was going through and the, I don't know what to do. We had a plan and the plan didn't work. We knew mom was taking care of it. Mom was going to be back to us just like grandma was and all of that. And then all of a sudden the unknown. And it was very humbling to have the community support I had from my kids' school, from my clients, from the community. And that's where Turning Point came in for me.
Okay.
There's so much that I didn't understand with
Oh.
what was going on in my body. Everybody's like, oh, you're fine. Surgery went well. Well, I can't lift my arm. That's not normal. And like I said, that's where Turning Point came in. I walked in the door and the immediate sigh of relief. These people understood what I was going through.
Mhm.
It was as much physical therapy as it was counseling, as it was, what's the word I'm looking for? Validation.
Okay.
Yes, you know your body. Yes, something is off. You have lymphedema. You have cording. Let's take care of it. Let's move you to the next phase.
Mhm.
And that's why my kids are so passionate about giving back, because I didn't work as much as I was working and I couldn't afford to go to Turning Point 4 days a week.
Okay.
And they looked at me, they said, okay, pay what you can pay.
Okay.
What can you give us to keep us running and going? And the rest of it, we got you covered. And my kids saw that side of it too. And
Okay.
that's where they decided to create this walk to give back and finance other women's journeys that, it's hard to ask for money and say, I can't afford this.
Okay. Right.
And now people can,
Okay. Okay.
because they don't turn you away.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so thank you so much for that. So this next question is going to be for Marlena. She's a community advocate. So take us a little bit into what you do in your role in regards to impacting and empowering women. Sometimes it can be devastating when women go through certain things. They receive a devastating news. First thing they think about is their kids. They think about their husbands. They think about, am I preparing for a funeral? That's the first thing comes to their mind. I mean, I've never had breast cancer or anything like that, or what have you. I get my mammograms and what have you, but it's just, it's just normal for a woman to think that way. Perhaps maybe the husband, get in his truck and just drive probably about 50 miles per hour, or what have you. But it's something different about a female when she receives devastating news. The first thing she thinks about is her children. She thinks about her family and how they're going to be cared for if not, they perhaps maybe have to go through the transition with them. So tell us a little bit about your community advocate and how you ensure that women know that they can be able to thrive beyond breast cancer.
Yes, so I think I'm a pretty good example of thriving. So because not only am I a community advocate with Turning Point, I'm a volunteer advocate with an organization called My Style Matters.
Okay.
I am a program manager with an organization called GRASP, which is Guiding Researchers and Advocates to Scientific Partnerships. Both organizations also work with patients in regards to cancer. And I am a mother of a 15-year-old. At the time of my first diagnosis, she was 12 in the 6th grade. And I recall telling her with a church member, I had great and continue to have great support with my church. A church member helped me to tell my daughter, who had been a two-time survivor, and my daughter's response was of anger because I didn't tell her first. And so she's a sassy one. So fast forward, when I received the current diagnosis, she was one of the first people I told, but she already knew because the first time I found my lump, she didn't know anything about that. But the second time, my left breast had been swollen. And then in addition to that, eventually I felt a lump, kind of like a ball under my right armpit that was moving and that was painful. And so that was different from the lump that I had in my left breast during the previous diagnosis. Mm-hmm. So, it's important that people understand that you must know your body, that you must do your self-checks, because again, I found both of mine. The lump I found doing my normal monthly check in the shower. And the other one, I thought I just woke up and slept wrong, but I knew because I previously had breast cancer that if you feel something, you need to let your doctor know. And so I proceeded to message my doctor, my medical oncologist, and I had to advocate for myself because originally I was going to have a mammogram 2 months later from when, actually maybe 3 months later from when I saw my medical oncologist. And I said, no, that doesn't make sense. I need to have a mammogram sooner. Right. Another role that I perform is as a advocate for the Winship Cancer Institute. I'm a Winship patient and family advisor. And so because of that role, I know nurses. And so they were able to get me a mammogram sooner. And then the number one thing, I must credit Janae, because when I came for my follow-up, this is before I even suspected anything, but when I came for my follow-up with my swollen left breast, Janae basically told me, no, Marlene, that's abnormally swollen. And so I was able to push up my follow-up with my oncologist to go in to see them. But I tell people that just because you have a cancer diagnosis, it does not mean death. And so the other thing that I also do, which is my full-time thing, is I'm a full-time graduate student working on a master's in clinical mental health counseling. Okay. And I will receive that degree in May of 2023. in addition to 2 certificates, one in marriage and family therapy and one in sex therapy. So my thing to other people going through a diagnosis, that it doesn't have to stop you from doing what you were called to do, from doing what your purpose is, for being able to take care of your children. You can still go. I do treatment 2 weeks on, 1 week off on Thursdays. I thought that this was just going to mess up my whole schedule. I'm in class, I'm doing an internship, I'm trying to raise my daughter, but I'm a spiritual person. God saw it that I would be able to do this treatment, yet still live my life and move forward. And so I'm able to encourage people to not necessarily look at all of the bad that has happened, but find something that is good. And
Right.
this diagnosis that I received in 2018 is what pushed me to even want to go back to school, because I have been told spiritually 3 or 4 years before, you need to go back to school, you need to be a counselor. And my response was, no, I'm making money, I'm doing a job, I'm not leaving this comfortable space I'm in. But once that diagnosis hit, it was a mind changer. I said, okay, let me go ahead and research and start working on going back to school. And that's what I did.
Okay.
So I like to encourage people with my story.
Okay, absolutely. So this is basically like an advisement. We are having some very heavy weather here, so you may see the screen freeze and what have you, maybe a little technical difficulties, but continue to be able to share your story and talk. We're going to continue to get this out because your face is still on the screen. So just wanted to share that with you real quick as well. So this question is going to be from Marci. And so Marci, talk to us a little bit about take us a little bit deeper into, I guess, what you do is to be able to empower women as well. I want to share before you answer that, I want to share what I shared with the former panel, or the previous panel. It was a location where the hospital somehow felt that the women in the area did not need the resources for breast cancer. So Susan G. Komen was not allowed to come through that area to be able to give it. Was not, and so they, of course, the Susan G. Komen Foundation came through one of our entities that we work with in the community to see if I could be able to help them to be able to get in so they could be able to help the women. So that's kind of a lack of a stifling. And that's the reason why that kind of frustrates me. Even the more about women not being able to have the resources that they need, because they have individuals that sits on these boards, these teams, they have individuals that sits in these hospitals, and they feel that there was no problem, no issue, there was nothing going on. But Susan G. Komen, they had the stats. It was right there. And so the people were in denial. No, you can't come to the hospital and do any type of presentation or anything. So we had to go in and they had to basically force their way in through another entity, which was ours. So we want to talk about that. And that's the reason why this is so personal for me, as to why women are shunned away and other people have the authority to make the decisions for them. And when we actually had the actual meeting or the event, the women were just coming in. It was just totally deplorable. They did not have no doctors, no oncologists, no one in the area to be able to do mammograms. The women had to drive hours and things like that. I mean, that's ridiculous. And so that's the reason why this is so personal to me, because sometimes individuals make choices for women and women don't have any choices in certain locations. And so that's ridiculous. So, yeah, I don't like that. So Marci, and that's the reason why we're having this. So Marci, talk to us a little bit about more what you do as an advocate, and then talk to us a little bit about your experience as to how this information came to you, and what was your, I guess, reaction, and then also to your family as well.
Yeah, so I guess we'll start with that. So at 38, I had actually had my first mammogram because I thought I did feel something, and it ended up being a fibroid. So then 2 years later, I had my second baby, and I was in the shower with my oldest, and I said, and I hardly ever did self-exams. So again, I'm an advocate, just like everyone else, that you got to do your self-exams. Because I was in the shower and she was soaping, and I said, I'm just gonna feel around. And I'd started working out again. So of course my mind thinks, oh, I pulled a muscle or whatever. And I made my husband go and check it out and feel it. And so I got into the doctor right away. And she scheduled me for a mammogram. And I was going to do the 3D one. And I was about 3 weeks out. And something in my brain said, you need to get in sooner. And so I called him back and I said, do I really need the 3D? Can I get in sooner? She goes, well, if we see anything, we'll take more pictures like a 3D. I said, fine, get me in quickly. And I got in I want to say not even a week later. And during that time, I mean, I had a bad feeling, just like you guys said, because after they did the mammogram, the ultrasound, the radiologist came in and said, do you have another hour? We'd like to do a biopsy.
Mm-hmm.
And so of course, you start freaking out. And I was very fortunate where they got me in the same day, because I hear women going, they still have to wait another week to get the biopsy done.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, do what you need to do. I mean, I was crying, and I kind of joked with the nurse. I said, you guys need stuffed animals or something, because I mean, I still remember the clicking sound and just like the tension, whatever. And I was like, I mean, she was holding my hand. I was squeezing her hand. I said, I'm so sorry if I, squeezed too hard. She goes, no, that's okay. And I said, you need a stuffed animal. And then I remember her telling me, the nurse said, you'll find out the next day. But actually the radiologist told me I'd find out on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was November 13th, I went in, and I'd find out the next day, because I kept calling, because just like Stephanie, I mean, I was an advocate for myself. Like I'm type A, where, as soon as I know something's going on, like I have to make the phone calls, I have to do all that. And so I kept calling them all day. And then around 3:45, we were at my daughter's swim lesson, and I said to my husband, I haven't heard, I'm calling again.
Mm-hmm.
So I called and I heard those words, I'm so sorry you have breast cancer.
Oh.
And of course, I'm like in shock. I grabbed my daughter before she went into swim class. We're going out the door. I'm crying hysterically. So I'm sure all these people were like, what is going on with this lady? And my daughter was like, Mommy, what's wrong? She's never seen me cry that hard. And she was 5. And just like you said, I mean, I kept saying, like, we're going to fix this. Mommy's going to fix this. I said, everything's going to be okay. We're going to fix it. And it's either I was saying that to myself, or I was also saying that to my kids. The baby, I mean, she was 1, so she didn't know what's going on. But, I don't even remember driving home, but I remember making the phone calls, just like Stephanie said. I mean, I got in the next day to 3 doctors. And I started interviewing. I reached out to other women that I knew in the community, and I'm from Arizona. So I knew some of my other friends that had it. And so I reached out to them. I said, give me doctor referral names. I said, I got to figure this out. I knew you did a lot of research, blah, blah, blah. And so I just kept interviewing people. And my husband was, on board. Like the next day we're going through everything. I mean, we were exhausted within a week, because we were just seeing everybody. And then I know I didn't even pick. So I picked my whole team. I mean, I met the radiologist, I met the oncologist, I met the breast surgeons.
Okay.
And some people don't even meet their oncologist until after the surgery. And I said, I'm getting my team together. I want to know who's on my team and how we're going to do this. And, I remember talking to some of the doctors too. And I looked at them and I said, because I was 40 at the time. And I said, if I was your daughter, your sister, I said, you tell me, what should I do? Because I had that choice of the lumpectomy. But I'm that OCD type where I'm going to always think like, what if it goes to the other breast? So I ended up, they said to me, they said, you know what, I would do the double. And that's what I decided to do. And then I thought about doing the deep flap or doing implants, but I knew I didn't want a foreign object in my body. And with the deep flap, I kind of got scared because it was a 13-hour surgery. And they even say you're under longer than a heart transplant. So that scared me alone, to be under for that long. And then they said, if your skin fails, and I don't know if a lot of women know what the deep flap is. I'm sure the panel does, but it's, where they take the tissue from your abdomen area and form breasts out of it. And so if that failed, if my own skin failed, they'd have to put an implant in. And I knew I didn't want that. So I said, you know what, I'm staying flat. and my husband was 100% supportive of it.
Wow.
And my doctor, I remember she said to me after I got out, because I ended up being, I took 12 lymph nodes and 4 were precancerous. And she said to me, we would not have found that if we did a lumpectomy. She goes, you'd be back on my table in a few months.
Okay. Okay.
So again, like, you just got to be an advocate for yourself. And so that's what I'm telling women, because I see it all the time. I'm on all these Facebook groups and they're like, what should I do? And I said, what does your gut say?
Okay.
Because I said, your gut is pretty much 99.9% what you need to go with.
Right.
Don't, I mean, a lot of time people say go with what your head, whatever, but it was my gut. I mean, I kept thinking, like, get rid of them both. Don't do anything. Like, I wanted to see my babies grow up.
Right.
And it's like, I didn't want to do more surgeries. I do real estate full time, and I just, I wanted to get back to work, and I wanted to do whatever and just move on with my life.
Right.
So I've always journaled. And so I just started writing the story, and it was actually like 4 or 5 pages. And I said to my girlfriend, my best friend in Ohio, she's a freelance writer. And I said, will you just take a look at this? And we ended up writing a 24-page book out of it. And I mean, and from there, it just thrived. I wanted to help more women, and I wanted to get things out there, because I knew other women had all these questions, like, what should I do? What do I ask my doctor? So again, all the resources. And I'm very involved here in Phoenix with an organization called My Hope Bag. And I'm considered a Hope Sister. And we actually physically go to the women's homes. We give them a bag full of self-care items. So blankets for chemo, because it's cold in the chemo room. A pillow, so when you're going through surgery, it kind of helps, or put it around your port. Socks. I mean, all of this stuff is donated, but we will sit with the woman for at least an hour and just talk, share our story, let her share her story. What are her concerns? And we actually have a resource guide in there for all the different organizations that will provide, help with bills.
Right.
I mean, I remember even though I was doing well in real estate, I still needed help, because I still took a step back from working.
Yeah.
I was self-employed. I mean, my husband was working, but I still got help. I got like 4 months of my mortgage paid. I got utilities paid. I got gas money, things like that. And so a lot of women don't realize the resources that are out there.
Yeah.
Because they're so afraid, because I hear them too that say, how am I going to afford this? Because now we have all these medical bills that are piling up.
Right.
And like, insurance denies a lot of things up front. I know they denied my PET scan 2 times, and even my doctor was an advocate for me too. And he did a one-on-one call, like I think it's a peer-to-peer call or something.
Mhm.
They still denied him. I had to go through all the MRIs, the CT scans, and then they go, oh, now you need a PET scan. No kidding.
Wow.
And I said to the doctor, because again, I advocated myself. I said, I just want to know if it's anywhere else in my body.
Okay.
And I want all those scans. I don't care. If I have to pay for it, I'll pay for it. I mean, luckily my insurance covered it, and that's what I just want to get out there and help other women, because I know they're in the same boat I was, even if they're underinsured. There's so many groups out there that will give you free mammograms, and women don't know. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I do understand. It seems like you have done a lot of self-care. You jumped right on it, and you did not, basically, like all the rest of the panel as well, they did not drown into Sorrow Valley. They got up and they did something about it, and then they were able to pursue, because I think once, I guess, after you get the detection, and then you go in, you go in there and you start to being your own first advocate, I'm pretty sure that is what speed the process up for the healing as well. So thank you so much for that, Marci. So this question is for Dr. Finley. I know that, we have different institutions, we have different institutes as well, Centers, Cancer Centers for America, and what have you. So talk to us a little bit about the Turning Point. Tell us a little bit more about what is so unique that the individuals can be able to thrive from that. I know that it's a lot of physical therapy that's involved and what have you, but what are some of the other components that you all offer for an individual that has just got this terrible news, which that's what it is, terrible news that they have breast cancer and what have you. I don't think that you can eat enough chocolate or less chocolate or what have you. It's just something that women, I'm talking about women, go through a whole lot. If it's not breast cancer, it's something else. It's always something with women. So talk to us a little bit about that. As to some of the other components that Turning Point may offer for women that are thriving against breast cancer.
I think first and foremost, what Turning Point does or has created is a safe space.
Okay.
So when you enter Turning Point, automatically you do not feel like you are at a doctor's appointment or regular physical therapy appointment.
Okay.
So the goal was to create this space that felt calming and relaxing. So all of our patients are treated one-on-one in a room. I'm actually in my room that I treat in right now. There is like very relaxing and calm music playing. Everything is one-on-one. We actually, when we're treating, the overhead lights go off and we have little lamps that we keep on to create this very calm, safe, relaxing space for patients. And that automatically, and I know Marlena and Stephanie probably know this, it's almost like patients have so much built up. And then when they get to Turning Point and they can finally relax, it all comes out. So there's a lot of, even though I'm not a therapist by any means or do any type of mental health counseling, I get it all. And that's fine. And I love that. And I love that we get to know our patients. So it's not that, oh, I just know you by your first name or your last name. I know your name. I know your nickname. I know your kids' names. I know what schools they go to. I know if they had a birthday. You know, we are very much involved with the person as a whole and everything that their life revolves around.
Okay.
We work with patients in terms of like, hey, you know, I know you like to come mornings before work. I had to cancel. I know it's last minute, but if you want to come in early and come in before work, we can work with your schedule. We can see you at 7:30 in the morning. We can see you at 5:30 at night after work. So we really try to make it be something that is not an extra doctor's appointment you have to go to that you really want to go to. Another appointment here and another appointment there. I have so many patients that come in and tell me like, this is the only thing I look forward to in my day, because when I come here, I feel so much more relaxed. Whether we did exercises or not, I was able to express myself. I was able to ask a question that honestly, sometimes other people don't know the answer to. They're able to just really feel like they can just kind of let things out and kind of not be judged based on what they know or what they don't know. Some of the services that we offer, you know, we have the mental health counseling and we have nutrition, but we also have exercise classes. And a lot of times for a lot of our patients, the exercise classes become almost like another form of group therapy for them. So a lot of our patients get together after classes or before classes. And, you know, some of these women have been here for so many years because all of these things are open to them, even after they're done with treatment and after they're done with physical therapy, they can come back from now until infinity and still have access to the workout classes and the nutrition and massage and things like that. So a lot of our patients form their own kind of little small group that they meet with and have coffee with and talk about their day and the struggles and the things that they're going through. And I love that we are kind of almost like an advocate of that, you know, come to anything we offer and talk to someone else. So even if you don't want to talk to me or you don't want to talk to any of our counselors, maybe just seeing another patient that has something in common with you, whether it's a job, whether it's your kids, whether it's the type of diagnosis that you have, finding someone else who has something in common with you is very comforting and calming to so many people. So if they don't feel comfortable asking me, a lot of times they feel comfortable asking someone who's going through something just as similar as they are. So, Turning Point as a whole is almost kind of like a stepping stone for a lot of people. So they come here and the running joke around here is, oh, once you come to Turning Point, you kind of never leave. So whether that is patient care. So we see patients on and off for years. We have a what we call a maintenance program. Okay. So for those patients, especially those patients that have lymphedema, we put them on this maintenance program. So it's not like we treat your lymphedema and then off you go, goodbye. We have a check-in with them every 3 to 6 months, check their sleeves and their garments and recheck their arms and see how they're doing and continue to give them education. And there's always new research. So we're always talking about new things to check on and look for and that kind of thing. And so that kind of gives people this sense of family, which is awesome, which we love as well. So we love to have our patients be involved as much as they can, because then that also leads to other opportunities. We have so many patients that do so many amazing, wonderful things for us, like Stephanie and her family. But we also have so many patients that are like, what can I do to volunteer? What can I do to help out? What can I just come answer phones for 4 hours a day? Then we have people like Marlena that become community advocates and become part of these huge initiatives that we're working on. So we become this great family that, you know, once you come to Turning Point, you never leave and you're just part of the family, and we love it that way. So,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Basically like getting up in the morning and going to, I'm just trying to be comical here, but just basically like getting up in the morning and going to Starbucks and sitting down and getting what you need. If I don't want to do this, I can be able to do this. I have different other options that I can be able to do. I don't have to talk to anyone if I don't want to. I can just have my coffee, read my newspaper, and I can sit down and feel just like family. Wow, that is awesome.
Yes.
That is awesome. So you just don't, it's not just to the point like some other institutes, which we're not here to judge. Everybody is different. So it's not basically like some institutes where you go in and you be approached with the individuals with the white jackets, because people get afraid sometimes, especially when they have received devastating news. And then now you got to come in, and then I have to come to your facility, and now you got this white jacket on. Is you going to tell me some more bad news like they did to I think it's Marci? No, you don't have this stage, but it's done jump to this stage right here. So it's more like a comfortable ease where the patient can be able to come in. That is so awesome. Where they can be able to come in, sit down, and they can make up their own mind as to what they want. That is powerful. I like that. That is so powerful. Wow. Okay. Okay. Let me calm down.
It really is.
That is powerful. Do you hear me? I feel okay. I'm gonna move on. Okay.
I love
Okay, so this is for Parul. So Parul, talk to us a little bit about what you do and things too, as to how you bring more insight to those that are around you. I think you do some speaking engagements as well. So share with us a little bit about that as to how you impact others, empower others, and what have you. And then also lift them up. That's the thing about it. See, even though people are going through things, whether it's breast cancer or any type of other entity, we have to have the power, even if we're a community advocate, I don't care what we are, is that we have to have the power to put them in the position that they were not in, but put them in a better position so they can say, you know what, I can do this too. I can do this too. So talk to us a little bit about that, Parul.
Absolutely. Well, one of the lessons that I learned going through my own journey was the power of experience sharing.
Okay.
So, my mother had been diagnosed with breast cancer in her early 30s when I was a young child. And, part of it was a cultural or social taboo, but we never talked about it outside of our family. Like nobody knew. And, it wasn't my story to tell, but I felt the burden of that secret. And so I'd always known that if something like that were to happen to me, I would want to share it with the world. Right. So when I was diagnosed, I actually started blogging my experience. I called it New Job, New Baby, New Cancer, and was very honest and candid in the experiences I was going through, but was also very intentional that I wanted the messaging to be empowering and positive in nature so that it would be helpful. I wanted it to be something that when my daughters would read when they're older to learn what their mother went through, they would be proud of it. And that mindset actually shaped my journey in terms of what I was thinking, the perspectives I was having, and then what I was sharing in this blog. And then that blog then went on to be read in 85 countries around the world, just confirming that desire to hear from the experiences of others is so powerful. So then after my treatment, I continued that sharing of the experience. I was treated at Stanford Women's Cancer Center and began speaking there in regards to the patient perspective in terms of how it can improve provider education, in terms of how it can improve research in survivorship and the power of mindset through its impact on physical healing. And then in fall of 2019 is when I launched Silver Linings, which is the organization that I run now, serving as a life leadership coach and speaker, as well as patient advocate. So there's really two pillars of the work that I do, but the umbrella theme is around empowering people to thrive through change. And so it's not just sharing the experiences from a hardship or dark cloud that I went through, whether it be a diagnosis or a work curveball, but really the belief that you can create your own silver linings, and empowering people to do that regardless of what the changes that they're navigating. So then the two pillars of speaking engagements and work that I do with others to share the insights that I learned through these journeys is one focused on the healthcare side. So patient advocacy, but from a business and government level. So I served on the goals forum for President Biden's Cancer Moonshot Initiative this past spring at the White House, sharing my perspectives as a patient, a caregiver, as well as a former healthcare executive, and really being part of the conversation with all of those hats on. I've partnered with the American Cancer Society and presented at healthcare conferences, healthcare companies, whether it be from the genomics angle, cancer care and advocacy, the gaps that are existing and what my family was fortunate to have access to, and had we not, how different our lives would have been. And so what does that mean for everyone who doesn't have that same access? And then the second pillar of the speaking work is really what I coin life leadership. And it is building those muscles of resilience and mindsets for how to navigate uncertainty, navigate change, and take ownership of it, recognizing that we can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond to it. And whether that's in health or anything else, that is what is going to enable us to thrive. And that is something that we have control over.
Okay, absolutely. That's awesome. Okay. So this is gonna be two-pronged, but this is gonna be a last question. So you have to answer both of the questions in one question, okay? And so the first prong of the question is share with the audience of what you want to leave with the audience. What encouragement, what empowerment, what impactment that you want to leave on the rest of the audience. That's the first one. The second prong to that, share with the audience any publications that you have published, where they can be able to find the publication, how they can be able to follow you on any social media handles, your website that you would like to share, any blog sites that you would like to share with the audience so they can be able to follow. See, because the importance of this is not just Women Who Rock with Success Media. I can't do this without you all. So you all network with the audience after the show. That's how we do it here at this network, okay? So we're gonna start with Stephanie, and we're going to go around the table, and then you can be able to share how they can be able to connect with you. But first, share with the audience what you want to leave with them as to how to encourage them.
Okay, that's a lot to absorb. I guess the biggest thing I want to leave is, and I've heard the other women on this panel say the same thing, you have to know your body. You have to know who you are and how you want to get through this. My advice is do what you're comfortable with. Okay. If you go into a doctor and you don't like what they have to say, bye-bye, go find another doctor and advocate for yourself. I mean, like I said, my doctors wanted to do a lumpectomy and I said, that is not happening. We're not going through this in another month or so, or 2 months and do the biopsy you were talking about. I'm having a double mastectomy. I'm doing this. This is my time frame. And if you don't want to work with me, then I will find another doctor who's willing to listen to me, because ultimately it's my body and I have the choice.
Right.
And then the other piece is, somebody just mentioned bringing in the community. I was very, very active at my children's school when I got my diagnosis. I mean, I was on campus every day. And I decided the rumors were going to go flying if I didn't stand up and say why I was going to be gone. Mm-hmm. So I told my community, I just got a breast cancer diagnosis. I'm having surgery next month. I'll be back in 8 weeks. Well, that 8 weeks turned into 1.5 years with 4 more surgeries and lots of physical therapy and lymphedema and cording and chemotherapy and radiation and everything else that went along with my journey. I was open. Anybody asked a question. The number of people that reached out to me and reached out to my children. I didn't know there was somebody else I could talk to. My mom's going through it right now. My grandmother's going through it right now.
Oh, wow.
And my children became empowered, and they started the nonprofit because of that. They're like, there are so many people who came out to help my mom, and I've always been the one who helps everybody else. Oh, you need a shirt? Here, it's yours. And all of a sudden the tables were turned, and you really have to step back and be willing to accept that help from people. That was the second thing that I learned through this journey. I can't do it all. I'm a
Right.
mom of 3 kids. I'm a business owner. Now I'm a breast cancer survivor. I can't get up every morning. That's why Marci's book resonates with me. And my youngest actually is in the process of publishing her book. My mommy has cancer, but she's still my mommy.
Okay.
Because that's how she dealt with it, was through her artwork and through her journaling. And my oldest turned into mom. She was 15. She drove me everywhere. She made sure my daughters had lunch to take to school, and that daddy and grandpa got them everywhere they needed to go. Like, she took over that role. My middle child had the idea for the walk, wrote a paper that influenced her friends, and they all turned around and were like, wow. And that's when she said, I need to help others. I need to tell others.
Right.
So I think I answered the first part of that question of what do I tell people? Listen to your body. You're empowered to take care of you, and accept help from people who want to help you. And you can also say, not today. I need to be alone. I need my time to just recoup.
Right.
And that's okay too. I had people sit at the foot of my bed while I was sleeping, just because they wanted to be a presence in case I needed something, but they respected the fact that I needed to sleep and just chill and do nothing. With that said, the reason I feel like I'm on this panel today is to show that you can turn a negative experience, a traumatic family event, into a wonderful family affair. Strides for Survivors is a labor of love. It came from, again, my 3 teenage daughters, and 7 years strong. Our biggest event is a walk that happens to be this coming January 21st in Atlanta, Georgia. It is a 2.7 mile walk around Chastain's Path, with a smaller version for children and survivors who can't do the full walk. We celebrate each other. We celebrate the community and what we know. Janae's been there. And it really just tells everybody it's okay to tell your story. It's okay to ask questions. And there are these amazing resources. I was so thankful to have gotten the diagnosis of breast cancer in Atlanta, because I had so many resources at my disposal that many people don't have. And so, to give you the plug for Strides for Survivors, it's we love donations. We love community support. We love to get into other avenues. My children were all born at Paradise Valley Hospital in Phoenix. So, the Phoenix connection is there as well. And you can reach us on our website, stridesforsurvivors.org.
Okay.
We're also on Instagram, Strides with the number 4 Survivors. We're on Facebook. And I don't know if that one's Strides number 4 Survivors or the word 4, but you can find it all. And you have my children's amazing story on there. You can see how we've evolved over the years and have been able to donate $61,000 in 6 years.
Oh, wow.
And like Janae said, I'm part of the not only the fan club of Turning Point, they're my family. I turn around, I have a question, I pick up the phone, I'm like, hey, this doesn't feel right. Can you talk to me? And I stopped going there regularly as a patient 6 years ago. But I can still pick up the phone and be like, I'm not sure. And they'll squeeze me in. They'll let me, know what I can do to help myself. And then the last thing is, this year, I think it was the first annual Survivor Walk. Turning Point invited everybody who's been a patient to come join them for a walk in the woods. And it was a beautiful day. And it was just wonderful to talk and see patients you saw in and out of Turning Point when you were there, and have a conversation with them and just enjoy yourself for an hour and know you were in the right company and the right mindset. And I didn't even have to walk in the doors of Turning Point to be able to have that moment of just letting everything go and sharing who I am and where I've come. And I think I'm better for it.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay. And thank you so much for being our guest on today, Stephanie. So
Thank you so much
next,
for having me.
you're welcome. So next is Marlena.
Yes, so what I would want to leave for people watching is, again, that when you receive a cancer diagnosis, cancer doesn't automatically mean death, and to use that diagnosis as motivation to push you forward to do things that you may not have done before, whether you had time or not. So use it to encourage yourself and to have also social support. Try to find social support, whether it's through your children's school. I had as well been active with my daughter's school. It was K-8, and so they surrounded us as a family would. My church surrounded us. I'm an only child, so I don't have siblings. My mom has passed. My dad is in DC, so it was very important for me to establish a good support here. I want to give the information for Turning Point's website, which is myturningpoint.org. The Instagram page is Turning Point BCR. I can be reached on LinkedIn, Marlena Murphy, and then through my own advocacy page on Instagram and Facebook, which is pink_OVA _everything, EVERYTHANG.
Okay. Okay, great. Marci?
Oh geez, all of you guys give me chills. But yeah, I mean, just like everyone said, you've got to go be an advocate for yourself. And you know, I guess I'm there for the families, the ones with the younger generation that have been diagnosed in early stages and things like that with families. You know, the kids also, you've got to be there for the kids too, besides just also being there for yourself, because these kids get scared. And so it's a whole family thing. So, I mean, get everyone involved, get the support. I mean, I definitely had helping hands. My parents came in from Ohio and spent the year. Luckily, they're snowbirds. So they had a house actually the next street over from us. So they took my kids on the weekends, or we had family friends that would take my girls to the movies or something. But, you know, as long as if you can get the help from outside, from church, from temple, you know, whatever, that's definitely helpful. And there's the resources. There's so many different books out there to read to families besides my own. I know there's other ones out there too. But my website, it's Flor Publishing, FLOR publishing.com. And I've done blogs on there. I actually did a whole bunch of YouTube videos. And I did that during my journey too, just to help heal me, but also to empower other women. And so I'm on Instagram as Marci G. Cox author. I'm on Facebook under Flor Publishing. And I mean, you can find all my links, my blogs. You can get my books on Amazon. They're at Barnes and Noble, Walmart. Or you can call me directly, because I've actually done story times with families.
Okay.
Which is so impacting.
Okay. So the books on Amazon, are they under your name or?
Under my name, Marci Greenberg Cox. Yep. So you can find them all under my name.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Dr. Finley?
We've talked a lot about advocacy today. And with that being said, I kind of want to leave people with this, because it's a common theme that we've found here at Turning Point is we don't know what we don't know. So unless you are an advocate and you ask and speak up, the healthcare system is going to assume that you do know, and you're not going to be told. So you really have to be self-aware, and you really have to be an advocate for yourself and others around you. So sometimes that means if you're going to a doctor's appointment, you're not going to hear it all. So bring someone with you. If you can, bring someone with you, because what they hear and what you hear is going to be two completely different things.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you need that second person to fill in those gaps where you missed it. And also, a lot of times things are going to be told to you once. So if you are at an appointment and someone else hears something and you hear something different, you have to remind people that you're still processing. So you may have to ask that question not one time, not two times, maybe three times before it really kind of sinks in and is able to really kind of be processed. So you don't know what you don't know. So make sure you ask questions and be your own advocate. Marlena already gave out our Turning Point website. On there, you can also see a list of our partners and everyone that we're partnered with, as well as our Instagram page. We also are on Facebook, Turning Point Breast Cancer on Facebook, and we also have a YouTube page. It is also Turning Point Breast Cancer Rehab. The thing I like most about our YouTube page is there is a video link, and you can see if there are patients that can't come in person to any of our workout classes, there are some online things that people can get involved with and discover and learn about on all of our pages. So thank you for having me today.
So I guess before we go to you, Parul, I guess the last question I would like to ask in regards to Turning Point, do you all have like a medical or licensed physician on site as well? Because that got to be some very devastating news. And then, as you stated, sometimes you may not, they may only tell you once. I mean, wow, that's something to kind of unpack right there as well. So do you all have licensed professionals? I know that you're licensed in your area as a therapist, but do you all have like other licensed physicians on the site as well to be able to perhaps maybe talk to the individuals one-on-one? Because you have to have a love for what you do in order to be able to help other women, especially in something that is so sensitive. This is a sensitive topic. People don't like to talk about breast cancer and things. Oh, it's for women. Oh, it's their breasts. It don't have anything to do with me. So sometimes people may, sometimes women may get, shuffled up in the convulsion and what have you. So I guess that's the purpose of my question. Do you all offer that, or do you all refer individuals out to individuals that do have, I guess, let's see what the word is, the patience. Sometimes individuals don't have patience. I'm serious. They're doctors, they got the coats on, they got on the jackets and what have you. I've seen it play out with one of my brother-in-laws and things. What is your, what is this? Or what is your response? What you gonna do? I'm like, he just had triple bypass surgery. His thoughts is not together yet. What are you talking about?
So we don't have any licensed medical doctors on staff, but this is kind of something that we're actually rolling out literally in the next couple of weeks. So a lot of our patients don't even know about this, but we actually have a patient advocate position that has just rolled out. And so we have, yes, which is kind of one of its kind. So she's a patient advocate kind of in the clinical setting and the administrative setting. So what we actually do now is starting with our new patients, because this is very new, it's just coming out, starting with our new patients and our patients that are
Okay, Parul, can you hear me?
oh,
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
We got bad weather.
That's okay. I don't know if any of that recorded that I said.
Go ahead, repeat it. You can.
Okay. So we have a new position that just came up that we are rolling out currently, and we have a new patient advocate. So she's kind of a mix between a lay navigator. She's not a nurse. She is more, I guess, more of a lay. We have a lot of the same doctors that kind of refer to us kind of quite frequently. And there have been times where I literally have been on the phone with a doctor in the room with the patient saying, the doctor's telling me, I need you to do this for this patient while she's in there. And I'm like, well, I've never done that before. And they're like, oh, it's okay, I'll walk you through it. So I've been on the phone with the doctor and a patient and another therapist actually in the room doing things for the patient that the patient needed on behalf of the doctor. So we have a lot of good relationships with our doctors. And then now we have this new advocate on staff. So we've got a lot of good things going on for our patients.
Okay, perfect, great. Okay, Parul.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and get it treated earlier. We Hi. So what I'd want to leave everyone with is this belief that you can create your own silver linings, whether that's in health or any aspect of your life. So, if you do feel a lump, then take action. Really, it's really about having this bias for action, whether that's asking questions, informing yourself, and advocating for yourself with doctors, or any other curveball that you may have in your life. And so, when it comes to working with others, I largely work with organizations like businesses, employers, healthcare systems, universities that are looking to, if they're within the healthcare field, are looking to bring in that patient caregiver voice, and inspire their organization and remind them how the work that they do is so important. And if it's non-healthcare, then it could also be the insights that come from the life leadership side of how do you build your leadership team? How do you build a strong organization, by helping them navigate uncertainty and embracing this bias for action as well. So whether you are an organization, an employer, or whether you are an individual, navigating your own kind of mental traps that are holding you back from what you're dealing with, or you're navigating breast cancer diagnosis itself, you can learn more about the work that I do and the insights that I share on my website, which is parulsomani.com. And if it's easier to remember, designingsilverlinings.com, then that goes to the same place. I'm also on LinkedIn as Parul Somani, on Instagram and Twitter as PD Somani, and on Facebook at Designing Silver Linings. On my website, parulsomani.com, are also links to the blog that I maintained as a cancer patient, which I mentioned has now been read in 85 countries. And so any insights or advice or the raw emotional roller coaster that we all go through, no matter how resilient we believe ourselves to be and strong, it's also normal and okay to have those breakdowns and have those valleys as well. And so the insights from that journey are on the blog New Job, New Baby, New Cancer, which is linked on my main website. And I also have more recent blog posts, including videos of sessions that I've co-hosted with the Stanford Women's Cancer, or the Stanford Cancer Institute, on mental health for cancer and beyond, and mental well-being for patients, survivors, and caregivers. Also, an article worth checking out is one I wrote for Forbes last week, which is called 3 Questions to Help You Get Unstuck and Move Forward with Intention. Because I think that article and those 3 questions will help you whether you are navigating a cancer diagnosis or any other struggle in your life. And so I would encourage everyone to read that as well. And there's also a contact form on my website if anyone would like to reach out either on the healthcare side or on the leadership coaching and training side.
Absolutely. So ladies, thank you so much for being with us and also putting up with this inclement weather where the screens were freezing. So we're going to see what we can do. But anyway, what we're going to do is if any of the content has been modified or anything like that, we're going to leave your links on all of the shows, Spotify and everywhere as Roku. We'll just leave your links and what have you. Hopefully that will suffice the freezing that we've been going through with the video. So thank you so much for putting up with it. You all could, some people, bye-bye, but you all put up with it. So thank you so much for being with us on the segment on today. So our last episode is October the 27th. And that is a very, very awesome panel that we have for that. And just meet us back over there, audience, on that date. It's going to be 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time as well. So once again, thank you for being our guest, and everybody have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.